Canada's Parliamentary Budget Officer has found in a new economic and fiscal outlook that Canada's deficit for this fiscal year is nearing $70 billion. Now that's up from just over $50 billion last year, according to Jason Jacques, the interim PBO's estimates. This is significant because he's finding that the level of debt that the government is planning to take on to fund its ambitious spending plans to ramp up infrastructure, other major projects in Canada, is going to add to Canada's debt at a faster rate than we originally expected. Canada's government has fiscal anchors that it sets. The new government under Prime Minister Mark Carney has tried to tie it to deficit to GDP. That's a ratio that will show that as long as Canada's economy is growing and the deficit isn't growing quite as large, that we're prudently managing our finances in the government. Now, previous governments have used different fiscal anchors, including debt to GDP, keeping that on a declining scale. The PBO, Jason Jacques, finds that this government is no longer on track for a declining debt to GDP ratio, and that deficits will no longer be capped at 1% of GDP, suggesting that under previous definitions of responsible fiscal management, this government might be slipping. Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne has insisted that the government still does have fiscal anchors. One of the anchors that the federal government is tying its fiscal responsibility to is declining deficit to GDP. It says that this ratio will decline over the medium term. And the PBO's report does, in fact, show that deficit to GDP, while it is expected to rise a bit this year, should decline over the preceding years. So the current Parliamentary Budget Officer, Jason Jacques, is only there on an interim basis. The Liberal government didn't have time to appoint and get one approved by the House of Commons before the outgoing PBO, Yves Giroux, left earlier this month. So Jacques, a longtime member of the office, is stepping in on an interim basis. Now, the Conservatives pushed for the Liberals to make this interim PBO permanent, and we will see after a rather scathing report if the Liberals are still willing to do so. It could be telling, as the Conservatives have accused the Liberals of wanting to fire the PBO should the officer present any numbers that are counter to what the federal government is looking for.